What is up? We are live. Let me go ahead and hide ScytheX's camera for a little bit until you can jump back in. What's going on, Zuplex? Long time no see.
What's going on, Spartacris?
It looks like it's just you and me to start.
Here.
We can actually, there's no choppiness, it looks like. Everything looks like it's running smooth, knock on wood. We'll see what happens.
What happens when we don't have these other jamokes on with us?
So we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to kind of go over. But I figured before we go into some of the meat and potatoes, we'll give people a couple more minutes to jump in. There was a few kind of announcements in the entertainment world. I figured I'm going to throw them out there. You tell me if you heard them or not, and we'll kind of go from there. The first one being, this is probably not a shock to a lot of people. Dark Roots Creations, thanks for jumping to the chat. We're her two faves, she says.
Nice.
So the first big announcement, and Dark Roots is going to enjoy this too. Ezra Miller arrested again in Hawaii.
Jesus.
I lost count how many times. Hold on, let me add Scythe back in. I see he just jumped in. What's going on, Scythe?
Yo, what up?
We literally just started, so it's perfect timing.
Okay, cool.
But I was just mentioning how Ezra Miller, I don't know if you heard, once again arrested in Hawaii. This guy,
Frank Gustin, step on up.
I don't know what's it going to take for Warner Brothers or DC to finally say, or Discovery now, to finally say, all right, enough of this kid. I can't. Do you think that he's been playing the Flash so long that he actually thinks he is the Flash and he'll get away with these things?
And I don't know what he did, but he hit a chick with a chair. So I mean,
yeah, the dude's out of his mind. Something's clearly wrong.
Dark Roots Creations in the chat just asked if we saw Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, the court crap that's going on.
I
haven't really been paying attention.
But I would love to watch it.
I actually haven't watched any of the live, because you see a lot of live feeds of the court goings-ons. I do know that the more I hear, the more Johnny Depp is innocent and Amber Heard is just a nutball. But I really think Ezra Miller, just jumping back over there, I think that he feels like he is a superhero and he can just get away with these things.
It's cliche to say, but I feel like he's just on drugs.
He looks like a drug addict. I mean, all his pictures looks...
all the drugs.
Yeah. He looks bad. He looks really bad.
I know meth's pretty prevalent in Hawaii where he keeps getting arrested, so maybe he just started smoking meth. I'm not sure, but he's just throwing chairs at chicks.
It's possible.
All he knows what else.
I mean, you know what's funny, though? He's throwing chairs at chicks and he's getting arrested for karaoke incidents. So maybe he just takes his karaoke that serious.
Apparently.
Word to the wise. If you're watching this live or if you watch this on YouTube, if you happen to be at karaoke and Ezra Miller walks in, do not pick up the mic unless you can really belt it out.
What we need in this situation is Will Smith. Slap the shit out of this dude.
You think if Will Smith is causing problems, Ezra Miller throws a chair at him? Or do you think he backs off?
That would be the best fight ever. Let's just put them in a cage together.
Obviously, you know what? They both have anger issues. They both have some aggression they need to get out. So, celebrity death match right there. Will Smith versus Ezra Miller. You're here first.
You know?
What else? Some other big announcements. It was kind of big for us nerds, but a brand new Star Wars game in development with the creators of Uncharted and Last of Us behind it.
Naughty Dog.
Naughty Dog is the developing company. I mean, my only thing is, do you remember a few years back there was that game Star Wars 1313 they showed that looked 100% like a Naughty Dog game, and it was all about bounty hunters? That's kind of what I would want this one to be, or at least
this one
style.
Apparently is going to be its own separate story away from the norm. But what I'm curious is if this is Naughty Dog making it, is it an exclusive?
That's a good question. But is it Naughty Dog, though? Because they didn't specifically say Naughty Dog. They said Amy Hennig, who was just one of the minds behind the Naughty Dog games.
I think they said the creators and the developers of what's the name?
On Last
Uncharted of Us? And Last of Us is
making
it. So
I never understood that we don't get a lot of good Wars games.
We really don't. Especially, I would say, over the last 10 years, it's been a struggle to get good games. Fallen Order, Battlefront 2 became good eventually. Didn't start off good.
Battlefront.
Here's Battlefront 2. Let's be honest. It's not a Star Wars game. It's Battlefield Star Wars suits.
Right. Because even the
saying?
story
Like-
mode is kind of a crap story mode. It's only what 5 hours long, and they kind of
You're
I
pull their
enjoyed the
punches.
story.
Star Wars weapons. Let's be honest.
I might be in the the minority, but I thoroughly enjoyed that story.
I mean, I enjoyed the
Even
story
the DLC
too,
that
but
came with it.
I enjoyed the story because I'm a Star Wars fan, not because it was some like excellently told story. But overall, the game was a good Star Wars game. I would say. I don't think anyone can really argue that. But otherwise, before then was what, Knights of the Republic. Knights of the Republic
It's
2?
probably the closest thing that we've gotten
Force
to.
Unleashed, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, even Force Unleashed was
Just okay.
It was good. I mean, it was a fun game to play and everything like that. But like, not have an open world Star Wars game, or like play a Force. No, where you play a Force sensitive person.
Right.
You get to choose either you go to the light or you go to the dark side.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they could easily do a game like that, and they
Well,
haven't done it. And
well,
it's the most obvious thing in the world to me. And I don't
Right.
understand like why they can't put it together.
I think that they're doing the remake of Knights of the Republic 1. That's a big step in the right direction because they're doing a full blown like just remaking it from the ground up. We're not getting just the same game with some better graphics. So that's a good step in the right direction. I do agree though we could use an actual Grand Theft Auto on a few different planets with a more morality system. But honestly, for me in particular, we got enough Jedi stuff out there. I really want like a bounty hunter game. I was looking forward to Star Wars 1313, a third-person action game. You can definitely add it in there. Maybe have a game of multiple characters if you want. But I mean, I take it back. The best Star Wars game that we've gotten so far is Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga.
I mean, but you're right though. The Lego Star Wars games are the best Star Wars games.
They're consistently good. They give us everything we
All
want.
those Lego games are fantastic.
They really are, especially if they're good
but-
enough on their own. But if you're a fan of whatever property is that they're parodying, it's even better. I mean, they know how to tell these stories and how to give you what you want. The fan service is excellent.
Yep.
Star Wars itself, like as a property, right? There's so much you could do with it in the video game world. You said you can have Star Wars Bounty Hunters the game.
100%.
Especially now with the Mandalorian stuff and everything like that. And you could have an open world game where you could play as a bounty hunter, you could play as a Jedi, you could play as a Sith. You can have Elden Ring as Star Wars.
Can you imagine? Well, see, so that's a kind of what the Jedi Fallen Order was supposed to be. It was like Sekiro. It was meant to be an Elden Ring style game, Metroidvania, where it's like tough and you have to kind of learn from experience.
But it was nowhere near that.
It wasn't anywhere near as tough, that's for sure. I mean, I struggle a lot with Elden Rings.
As much as it was open world, it really wasn't open world either.
Right. Well, it was Metroidvania. It was that
specific path that you had to take to be
Right.
able to like finish the mission or whatever. And
I would argue that by the time it became open world, you've basically already beat the game and you've unlocked all the moves. So there was really not much left for you to do on the planets as is, besides explore
There's
them.
nothing to discover. There's nothing to find out. There's no morality
Right.
to it. Like, but I would have liked Fallen Order a lot better if could actually go to the dark side because you killed too many innocents.
Right.
you know?
That's what I always
Or-
love about the Knights of the Republic
I feel
games,
like
man.
a game like that is going to be more on the multiplayer side. Unless
Right.
they get really detailed in the story where if you do, let's say, join the dark side, they have a story lined up for you to follow. You know what I mean?
Well,
Games like that before.
You know what they would need to do? What game was it? I think there was a Sonic game where there were two storylines. One was the good guys, one was the bad guys. And then by the end of it, they converged. They kind of needed. That would be kind of a cool idea for a Star Wars game. I mean, Knights of the Republic lets you go full dark or like.
I mean,
so that they have that already.
The Last of Us 2. You could do The Last of Us 2, and where you're playing the Jedi and the Sith, and then they meet in the middle, and then you have your final battle.
Hey,
and
maybe
then
that's what we're getting.
You choose if you want to be the dark side or the light side in the final battle.
That could be what we're
Mass
getting.
Pick your ending.
Big morality engine to it.
Mass Effect did. Well, it wasn't really a morality engine. It was more of like you could choose to be a dick. Like you were always a good guy no matter what, but you could just choose to be like a nice good guy or an asshole good guy.
It changed the story.
A little bit, yeah.
Like
It's kind of like how Horizon is.
Yeah, it's the new Horizon.
Horizon's
for sure.
like, hey, do you want to be nice or do you want to be an asshole?
Right. Right, but I
You
mean,
just
honestly,
amp that engine up,
yeah.
to 11.
You know,
Take
you
that
know what
idea
game
and
had a good
stand out
system?
on it.
I mean, Knights of the Republic had a good system, obviously, but the Infamous games had a good morality system too, where you could
That's what I was thinking
legit
of.
go evil versus,
Mhm.
be a superhero or supervillain. So one of the other big announcements, well, big, for people like us growing up with 80s and 90s video games and beat 'em ups and all that kind of stuff, a Streets of Rage movie in the works, and not only in the works, but being made by the creators of John Wick. I mean, I got so excited when I heard that.
This is going to be amazing. Like,
It's gonna be awesome.
because you picked the right people to do this.
So
We're not going to get some like convoluted story.
right,
Not going to get some character piece. We're going to get Streets of Rage.
right.
There's going to be a lot of rage in the streets.
And with that, with that stunt team, we're gonna get
hope so.
we're gonna get phenomenal action scenes, creative fight scenes.
Yeah.
I wonder if they go with well, you got to figure too. They got to make sure the soundtrack is good because Streets of Rage has some of the best video game soundtracks from the 16-bit era of any game out there. I was very
I
excited.
would love if they threw in like 8-bit, 16-bit music.
I would love that too.
I would love that.
Just a quick moment of it,
Yeah.
I want them to cast every like gargantuan pro wrestler.
This movie is ripe for some pro wrestlers to go in there.
Get Cena, get Batista, bring in like all these dudes, in Stone Cold, have them just be Streets of Rage.
Just going at it, man.
That'd be awesome.
See, this is a perfect example of where I would love to see them almost adopt the video game style straight to the screen. Literally, a couple of heroes walking down the street, beating up a bunch of like thugs or whatever, and then all of a sudden you got to fight the mini boss, and then you get to the end boss. And once they beat him, they walk through the door and do it all over again. Go ahead. What's up?
Can I sidebar for a second?
Yeah, go.
Speaking on basically what you're talking about, in the opposite direction with the Last of Us series coming out, Pedro Pascal is saying he's avoiding the games to shape his character, which
how do you feel about that?
I don't know because I know he's such a good actor and he can pull a lot of these characters off, but just completely avoiding the source material
is a little messed up.
Completely against of what you're saying in this one. You know what I mean?
But I agree with you there. Like so far, everything we've heard about the Last of Us show has me pumped. It looks phenomenal.
Right.
The actors all look like the right characters. The storyline looks like it's basically ripped straight from the games. That is the one thing that makes me kind of go like, oh man, like I don't know. The problem is the character in the game is already so well written, like fully fleshed out. Like I understand this is not a retelling of the game. This is supposed to be its own thing, but you can't have a Joel that quips and tells jokes. You want Joel to be the kind of serious survivor that he was from the games. But I feel like Pedro Pascal has kind of like earned our trust a little bit. So
I agree. Like I think he'll do a great job, but I'm a little more nervous in the aspect of completely avoiding the source, to where you're making a character out of somebody who we're expecting be someone completely different.
So my only argument to you about giving it a chance or not being too worried is that we have a show like Halo where they didn't avoid the source at all, and they still don't know how to make the character right. So
I feel like they avoided this. They actively avoided the source in Halo.
They wouldn't. They tell you they didn't, but the way the show is, it seems like they did.
Right.
But
which is why I'm nervous. So if they keep avoiding...
segue number one. Let's talk about Halo Episode 4. Did you guys watch?
Trigon in the chat says, anytime actors are going to play a person in a movie, they literally study them, interview them, ask questions, observe. Avoiding the video games is a mistake, in my opinion.
I totally agree with that, Trigon.
I mean, every time you get like an actor being a Marvel character,
right? They read
their
the comics.
Homework is immediately to read comics left and right.
I'll do you one better. Hayden Christensen, who played Darth Vader already and
I
Anakin
saw
in 3
this.
movies.
I saw this.
Just said in an interview that in order to get ready
Yep.
to come back to the role that he already did, he binge watched all the animated cartoons to
Clone
kind of
Wars and Rebels.
get himself ready for
Yep.
the new role. So that's
I
an
love
excellent
that
point,
because it
Trident.
means he's taking the character seriously.
Exactly. They're taking the
100%.
source material seriously, which is always
100%. And just before we even start bashing Halo, because that's basically what we're gonna be doing, the the other point too is that there's kind of an argument there to be made for hiring the voice actor to play the character in live action. I understand, we want to hire actors because they're used to the camera, all that nonsense. But if you hire the voice actor who played the character in the games, then they already know the character. And then they don't have to do that research, and it's just more about bringing the look and feel of the show to
sometimes
the
they don't have to
live
look,
action.
Like
Sometimes they don't.
Conroy,
You're right.
Right. Kevin Conroy, as much as I love him, and like he probably is the best voice of Batman ever.
Agreed.
I don't think he could play a live action Batman.
See,
he did in Crisis.
So in that example, you're right. However, I'm talking, this is in a vacuum, right? So The Last of Us specifically, we're talking about Nolan. It wasn't Nolan North. Was it Nolan North who played Joel, or was it Troy Baker?
I'm not sure.
I forget which voice actor it was, but that voice actor
Baker sounds right.
I think it might be Troy Baker. He could easily play the character. He could easily get the look down. And even the actress who played Ellie is an actress in real life, so there's really no reason why they didn't, or not in real life, but she's acted before, so there's really no reason.
She should have been Ellie.
100%. 100%.
She's a great actress too.
Yeah. But anyway, let's start the Halo bashing. How bad, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad did you think episode 4 was?
Done.
It was bad. It was slow. I think Zuplex, you mentioned that you were falling asleep, or you fell asleep a few times trying to watch it.
I fell asleep twice. I had to sit through this garbage 3 times because I kept falling asleep, man. Like
that's how I felt with Game of Thrones.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
I really want to love Halo. I really, really, really want to like it. But every time they give me an episode that I like, the next episode is so slow, and they keep cutting to that Qua-Han character that I know. And this last episode spent so much time with her. It just slows down the momentum of the show. I don't get what they're thinking of. They're so convincing that people are gonna like
everything about that character is just awful at this point. Like the more I see her, the more I hate it.
Yeah.
As far as like what we saw on the Master Chief side, it was cool to see how Cortana was able to like rebuild the house in his eyes.
That was a cool scene. Yep.
But that lasted way too long. That could have been a quick, 10-minute thing and not like half or more of the episode.
They did get him to finally put the helmet back on.
Yeah, but all right, hold on, because you just hit a hot button. So watching this show with Steve, I had my timer ready on my phone. Every time you put the helmet on, I hit the button and then I stopped it. Hit the button and I stopped it.
It was like 2 seconds in the beginning, right?
He had the helmet on for a total of 6 minutes and 58 seconds in the entire show. He did not have it on for that long.
Yeah.
I want to know what the pitch was for this show. They were all in a writing room being like, no, what we're going to do is episode 1, 51 minutes in, we're going to have him take the helmet off, shock everybody. Then he's never going to put it back on.
Right. And the problem, God. I get so frustrated because there's no rhyme or reason. He literally,
makes no sense.
He's in the ship. He's looking at the warp speed. He's having his little moment with Cortana. You're kind of like, oh, it's like okay, the show's not that bad yet. He puts the helmet on. Like they focus on him grabbing the helmet. He slides it on.
Puts it on.
He drives with the Warthog. He gets out, and then they focus on him taking it off. I was
immediately takes the helmet off.
What was the point
he
of
had
that?
it on for like 30 seconds.
It's like he didn't even have it on to test the air because everyone else didn't have a helmet on. So I'm like, what was the point of the helmet? I don't get it. They had to come up with a reason.
Spartan, the other Spartan is putting blood in her hair, so it's colored. Like,
was it blood? I don't know if it was blood or it was grease.
I don't know what she was
I think
doing. It was the blood from her pulling the thing out of her back.
Oh, maybe. It's just so so. The whole.
And speaking of which, like, how much more gratuitous man ass are we gonna have to sit through?
So I wish Steve was here because he actually laughed too. He goes, "What is with this show and showing man ass?"
The revolutionary guy that took over Quahan's special Madrigal pace.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, he's just bathing in a fountain.
Yeah,
Comes out
for no reason.
in it.
They just show his ass.
No reason. No
Like,
reason.
It wasn't even a particularly nice ass. I don't know if that matters, but it's just like no, it was pointless.
Pointless show I've ever had to endure.
It was pointless.
So stupid.
You know it's bad when your Halo show about Master Chief, because that's what the show was pitched to us as. I'm more interested in the other Spartans. You know, their whole like little dynamic where they were helping that scientist come up with the different Covenant words. Like that was kind of a little cool thing to see. We got no Covenant at all last episode, so I guess
we finally saw a needle.
Fuck them.
The Needler.
We saw the Needler. Now
the Needler.
The Needler was gigantic. I mean,
It
correct
was
me if I'm
huge.
wrong. You guys know the games better than me. Isn't the Needler a one-handed weapon in the games?
Yes.
Like she was holding that thing with two hands, and it looked gigantic.
It was gigantic.
And they didn't even have needles in it.
On this, I think because they made the Covenant look so large in the first episode, had to make the Needler
To match their hands and whatever.
Look,
So
that's a
it's
nitpick.
thing.
That's a
Perspective
nitpick
thing.
because that doesn't ruin the show for me.
No.
I just feel like, man, like again, there's just so much that I want to like about the show. The whole, I agree with you, Scythe. The whole him walking through the house and getting like that hologram of what it used to look like. Like it's all like that kind of stuff was a little interesting, but it's just very slow.
Very too little, too late.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting. I don't want to say I'm getting, but I'm getting, I guess, more interested in like Halsey's backstory and why she was there while he was young, and like what's her real agenda.
Well, she's one of the few like redeeming characters of the show because they've done
I
a
agree.
good job of keeping her kind of murky, if that makes sense. You know, like we don't really know what her real agenda is, and that's kind of a good thing. Cortana, I feel like, is turning out to be one of the better parts of the show. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm
I
liking
will agree that
Cortana.
she is the more entertaining part of, which just goes to show you that like be Quahan less and less now.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping she got shot
show.
last episode and that it just ended her storyline because we just don't need her.
Started the show with Master Chief and Cortana already being there and being the Cortana that we're getting now, and like them playing off each other could have been the dynamic that we needed. And then he never has to take the stupid helmet off.
Right.
You get the halo that everybody wants.
Cortana really could have been your like surrogate character that needs questions answered, especially if you're showing her as like the like she was just built or whatever, so she's kind of like a new character. Then they could have just done that. They didn't need to have a human character that we're all questioned. That but it doesn't even matter anyway because Quahan's character has nothing to do with Master Chief right now. I mean, I guess at some point by the end it'll converge or something like that, but it's just every time they cut and it looks like it's Quahan, it just kills the thing. It kills the entire momentum.
It destroys the episode.
We still have yet to have a whole episode of Master Chief. You know what I mean? Like he's the reason why we signed on. We wanted to see him. I'm okay with seeing his backstory, but focus on him. You know what I mean?
But not his backside.
Not his ass. Yeah, we don't need to see his ass. We saw it once. It was in the contract apparently. It's over now.
Here's one of the captain's favorite quotes: "The show is butt cheeks."
The show is butt cheeks, and that's very fitting for this show in particular.
There's a lot of butt cheeks.
We've got 2 episodes of different man ass, and we got a little bit of crack on the Spartan the other Spartan that took her emotional thing out.
To be honest, bro, it was pretty much man ass also.
Hey man, you can tell she squats. But so, in my opinion, as like a quick kind of capper on Halo, episode 1 still the best episode. Episode 2 was trash. Episode 3 was better than episode 2.
Decent.
And then episode 4 is probably, in my opinion, probably the worst one out of the group. I just didn't like it.
If it makes any sense,
It's 9 episodes total, so we don't have much left.
Like we're almost halfway through the whole season, and literally like grasping at straws to find good things to say about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And Master Chief has had 1 action scene, and that's the first 15 minutes of the show.
I mean,
that's the biggest issue is you're not seeing Master Chief kick ass.
Right.
At all.
We saw him do it.
He's in his feelings for 3.5 episodes.
It's basically like a mashup of Halo and Equilibrium. Master Chief wasn't allowed to feel. Now he's starting to feel, and he's just walking around like, oh my gosh, the sun feels good, the flowers feel good. What is this? That's music. Oh my gosh. I'm like, dude,
A puppy.
fuck out of here. Yeah,
Puppy.
like, what's this thing on all fours?
We don't get the most epic, like Avengers Endgame style battle scene at the end of this season. Show fails on every level. The only way to redeem it at this point.
We have to get that.
Full Master Chief.
The only reason why I say we have to get that is because they're saving budget on everything. There's very little going on. I mean, obviously, I know there's CG in the background and all that kind of crap, but there's very little going on that should be eating into the budget. The first episode, obviously, there was a lot going on with the big battle with the Covenant and all that stuff. We're going to get at least one more fight with Covenant soldiers. I'm assuming they're going to show us the grunts and maybe some other elites and all that stuff. But like, when is that going to happen? I think that's the finale. At this point, I really think we're not going to see Halo, or we're going to see it, but we're not going to actually be on it. And I think we're going to get one more major battle in the final episode, and that's really it. It doesn't feel like we're going to get anything else.
I feel like we're going to get Halo be the last shot of the last episode.
Right, like almost like the teaser, right, for season 2. I mean, we are getting a season 2, so they're clearly planning on leaving things for that.
Listen, I would not be surprised if it gets scrapped.
It depends, but from what I understand, though, the show is doing well, viewership wise. I don't know, critics wise, it doesn't seem like it's doing that great.
With streaming, it's always difficult to gauge because, like, yes, a lot. They'll be because the way they gauge their numbers is always a little funky because they're like, oh, we have like 78% viewership on this, but 78% of the people that own Paramount Plus are viewing it, right?
Right.
The real way you gauge growth for a show like this is the new subscribers it brings in.
Right.
Netflix, when they inked the Marvel deal, they announced Daredevil season 1. Reason why they were able to go forward so many seasons and expand the Defenders so much is because they saw exponential growth of new subscribers. It was Netflix at the very beginning of them streaming. It was their first time picking up like a major property, and everybody went out and got Netflix that wanted to watch Daredevil because it was the only way you were going to see it.
Right.
And now Netflix is losing a ton of subscribers.
Right.
They announced that they lost about 20% of their subscriber list users already.
Yeah, just before we jumped on, I saw that because of that, they're open to a tier of service that includes ads. So a cheaper service, but you got to deal with ads.
Because, I mean, at this point, streaming services spending a lot of money on developing new content. They're not gaining any new positions.
You know what the problem is all the companies that was giving Netflix content, they have their own platforms now. So they're stripping Netflix of all the content and keeping it for themselves rather than giving it to Netflix. And now they have to just like scramble and create their own shit at this point.
Right. You know what? I think a big thing too with Halo on Paramount is that I already know a handful of people who are waiting for the entire series to be out before, and then they just binge the whole thing. So that could spike the numbers, especially if it ends well. It could really spike how well the show performs. But
I mean, it's definitely true. But like again, figuring out what the budget is for this thing, how much they're willing to spend on a Halo series. They may have already approved season 2, but I'll almost guarantee that, because this thing, as much as apparently it's doing well, people are saying that it's doing well as Paramount.
Right. No, you're 100% right.
Positive reviews about the show. I don't see anybody being like, this show's amazing. You got to go get Paramount Plus because you watch Halo. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody I speak to is saying the exact same thing that we all are. So how well is it really doing? Like, is Paramount just saying that to keep their stock prices from plummeting? Like, there's so many different.
It's hard to judge because we're coming at it from background knowledge where maybe it's doing well with the people that know zero about it.
I think that's where the show would be performing, higher than expected. Because as a sci-fi show, it's basically giving you all the basic sci-fi shit. Weird planets, spaceships. And it's an intriguing story, I guess. Or a mystery, I should say. excuse me, and characters that I guess, I mean, as bad as Quahan is, you can't say she's not like a fleshed out character. We learned about her backstory, we learned about her motivations,
Don't care about.
I mean, and to a degree though, I think you're right, Scythe. I think that people like us, I may not be a giant fan of the Halo games, but I did play the first 3 of them. Enough to know the story, what kind of to expect, and to know the aesthetic and all that stuff. And one of the reasons why I still hang on to the show is because I just want a show like this to do well, so we get more opportunities to see some of our favorite shit brought to the screen.
But speaking of, we have yet to get sound from the game like we did in the first episode. That went away also.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to build up to it though. Every time they mention the word Halo, you get a tiny little bit of the Halo theme. Just a tiny little bit. So again, to Zuplex's point, I think in the finale we'll get like a glimpse of what the Halo is going to look like. In that moment, we'll probably get the full-blown Halo theme, unless they literally wait till the finale and give us a full-blown battle on Halo, and then we get the full theme, maybe the Warthogs, like you said, the Avengers moment where all the Spartans are going at it, and it's just a giant battle. Which, just even saying it out loud right now makes me like excited for it. But it's very sad that I don't know if we're going to get it.
Right. We don't know if that's going to happen.
Like, I feel like there's a very good chance it won't happen.
It's going to be a large battle of Quahan and her new minions or something.
You know what it's going to be? And Scythe, you're gonna get chills when I say this. You know what's going to happen is he's going to be on the ship. They're going to be flying over Halo. He's going to turn around and be like, I'm going to finish the fight, and jump out. And then we're gonna cut to Quahan, and she's gonna be in Madrigal, like arguing with her mom or dad or whatever. They're gonna cut back to the Halo, and the battle's gonna be over.
Dead.
Everyone's dead, and Master Chief is just standing there, like, oh yeah,
What a segue. Let's talk Moon Knight.
Let's talk Moon Knight.
I do have to disagree with you guys on one thing.
Go ahead.
I don't think it's a good sci-fi show.
Well, I didn't say it's a good sci-fi show. I said it's checking
decent.
off all the sci-fi things.
I don't even think it's decent. I think it's acted poorly. I think it's besides Pablo Schreiber as the protagonist, if you take away the Master Chief of it all and just look at him as like any other space protagonist, decent. Right?
Yeah.
Halsey's good. I like her. Every other actor besides Bokeem Woodbine in this entire show is acting terribly.
Well, Bokeem Woodbine,
Halsey, I thought was good.
So Halsey's good, I agree.
Halsey's good.
But Bokeem Woodbine, as good of an actor as he is not doing a great job in this show. He does not come off as like a pirate. But
he has anything to work with.
Steve even made a joke, that scene where he goes to steal that like motorcycle, the very basic motorcycle that's in the future. He gives the guy a look that I think was meant to be intimidating, but it was more of like, do you want me to fuck you? Because I'll do it. Like, it wasn't. He was almost questioning him, like, I like your bike too, man. You give me your bike? I was like, what the hell, dude?
Yeah.
He's a great actor.
If I knew nothing about Halo and I was watching this show, I would to the second episode and be like, there's nothing that makes me want to come back for more.
And his pistol was like a Destiny gun, not a Halo gun.
Was it even a Destiny gun? It looked like a Nerf gun to me.
It was like it looked like the hand cannon in Destiny, the revolver that they have.
What it looks like.
Yeah,
I just feel like his whole
character did not look like a Halo pistol.
The look of his whole character is weird though. He wears that chest piece that looks like he's like sticking his tits out the whole time, but with his like trench coat on. I guess they think he looks cool. I'm just like, I don't know, like nothing's really landing. You know what I mean? The visuals on the Master Chiefs, on the Spartans, I should say, the visuals on the Covenant ships, like the UNSC, like they all kind of nailed those visuals really well. Once they get away from that, everything is just very blah,
Yeah.
But and so, former segue, let's talk about Moon Knight, because we can basically sit here and talk about how bad Halo is for hours. So I brought up the cutaway for a reason, because Scythe, I know you're very upset about all the cutaways. However,
I hate it, man.
In the last episode, though, they didn't do it much. They did it twice as like a joke, and then we got to see a good fight at the end.
It's leading to something.
I think it's leading to something too, for sure.
Yeah, it's leading to the end, because we have 2 episodes left.
It's leading to the end.
What are we leading to?
We have 3 episodes.
3 episodes, right?
3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually, the director
I'm
of
so
Moon Knight,
over
he did say that at the end of the 4th episode is going to be a major thing that changes the whole dynamic of the show. So whatever that
I
means,
hope
you
so.
know.
There's another personality that hasn't emerged yet.
I mean, clearly we saw the third one. Well, we didn't see the third one because it blacked out, but there was a third one.
But the blackouts are supposed
last
to be,
episode.
you know, for each personality, right? So I think that's why they still did it in this last episode, because that third personality is kicking in, and you know they're teasing us with
The
it.
third personality, it should be Lockley,
Yeah,
who in the
that's what I'm
comics,
saying.
he's used more as like everyday interrogation guy.
Right.
Like what he does is in the comics he drives a cab, picks up, would be, and like kind of like just talks to him as like a cab driver would, and just listens and gets information that way. What they're doing in this show, I think, is using Jake Lockley as the way more violent version of Knight that's going to wind up, I think, changing the whole show for us.
That's what it seems
now,
like.
does Jake have its own moon suit?
Probably.
The comics, no, he's a regular guy that drives a cab.
Okay.
So I wonder if they make a suit for him, you know, a third suit for him specifically for the show.
With the posters they've released, there was a poster of 3 different versions of Oscar Isaac. On the Moon Knight with the cloak and everything, one in the Mr. White, Mr. Knight rather, suit, and then a third one where he's just wearing a white hoodie.
Right.
So I thought that was just going to be like the regular Oscar Isaac guy or whatever. I think that's now going to be the Jake Lockley suit.
I thought the big battle scene at the end was really well done. Like I know in our chat, you guys, I think Scythe, you and the captain kind of were saying the fight scenes were garbage, but I really loved it. I do think the one
my favorite parts of those scenes was Layla though.
But see, I like here's my opinion as to why it's not landing, because it's not just you guys. My aunt and uncle are watching the show and they are just trashing it. They think it's horrible overall. They just don't like it. Dark Roots Creations actually is not a big fan of the show either, and I think part of the reason why the fight scenes are not landing is because there was a lot of almost like comparison with the fight scenes from the trailers for Moon Knight to Daredevil. And then there was the comment about like, we're not pulling back on the violence, like, and all that kind of stuff. And is it more violent than an MCU
they're not pulling back, but
Maybe.
They're not showing it either.
Right. It's not nearly as violent as Daredevil is. And, you know, clearly it's not going to get there. It's clearly an MCU property meant to be for kids.
I think it is going to get there.
Well, maybe that's what happens. Maybe that's what happens at the end of episode 4 when the third personality comes in. Maybe he really kind of like, you know, goes nuts and goes to town on some people.
I think that's what's going to end up happening is we're going to end up seeing. Look, all of these MCU shows have basically the same kind of formula.
Yep.
Where it starts kind of like with a mystery, first episode, then we get good character development for a couple episodes, then they all end super strong.
Right.
Like every MCU show that we've gotten on Disney Plus ended super strong,
except for WandaVision.
No, even WandaVision, man. Like the last episode of WandaVision ended really strong.
Yeah, Wanda ended way better than it started.
See, I thought that I thought it was the opposite. I thought WandaVision started off good because I liked like the mystery and all that stuff, but I thought that the ending was a little too cookie cutter MCU. I didn't really feel like we needed the big battle scene and all that stuff. Not that it was. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it was bad. It just I liked the show in the beginning and felt like it started to lose steam towards the end. Dark Roots Creation says she doesn't like the multiple personalities. She wants to have Mark and more Egyptian stuff, and that's it. And then she said, let's not compare Daredevil to Moonlight with 6 episodes. No.
I mean, I don't want to compare the two either, but
listen, I'm rewatching Daredevil right now, and it's hands down. It's as of all the shows, it's still the best Marvel show. I mean, Daredevil is just such a good show.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the introduction of more of the Egyptian side of things with the gods and stuff like that. I will say I wish.
I thought that was very cool of them having all the avatars in the temple or the pyramid.
To what I wanted to talk about tonight.
Go for it.
Night happening, and from what I've been able to piece together as far as like all these MCU shows, they are all providing some sort of backstory and connectivity to movies.
Right.
It's their role in this MCU.
Right. Everything is leading to a movie, which is good and bad overall.
It's providing us framework for where everything's kind of heading, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what Moon Knight has done in this third episode with the avatars and the Egyptian gods, everything else, I think it's connecting to Thor. I think it's connecting to Black Panther. I think it's connecting to the Eternals. And what's happening is that we're slowly starting to find out all of the gods that man has worshipped have been aliens coming from other planets or other dimensions.
Right. Right.
And I think this all culminates in Thor with Gore the God Butcher.
I hope it does. My only here's the two things I got, two comments or responses to that. One, I agree with you. I kind of every show is essentially the intro to some future movie that's coming out or some future thing that's happening.
Yeah.
My only concern is that WandaVision came out how long ago, and we're not getting the payoff to that until next month.
Couple weeks.
So I don't know. I hope that Moon Knight is leading to connect with Thor: Love and Thunder, but I feel like that's almost too quick. Thor: Love and Thunder is what, 3 months away? Is it June or July, whatever it is? So like
July.
Yeah, July.
It's going to directly connect, but I think it's going to give us the framework for what we should be expecting.
Well, it could be, and I really do think that a lot of what we're getting right now, we're not going to really get payoffs for a long time. Like until
I don't think we are either.
Until phase like 7 or 8 or whatever it is that's going on. But I do think it is kind of saying to us, like, look, the gods are a real thing. We have the Norse gods. We're clearly going to get the Greek gods. Now we have the Egyptian gods. So it just kind of opens the door for more characters, like more gods or more beings to be introduced. We know the Celestials are around now.
Mm-hmm.
This also might connect to Wakanda Forever a little bit, because what they're saying is that one of the Egyptian gods was the lover of its Banff.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
And that if you look at even because with the MCU, what they've always smartly done is use color, kind of let us know certain things. So like the color of Ethan Hawke's power that he uses from the cane
is that purple,
ends up being the same colors as the heart-shaped herb.
Right.
So there's a lot of connective stuff that I think is going. You really have to dive deep into for this, and some of it might be a reach, and some of it I think is. But overall, like I've really enjoyed Moon Knight so far.
I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. I mean, I know, like I said, I know people who are hating on it, but I'm loving every episode so far. I don't think
I'm not hating. I'm more hating on certain parts. Like I just want to see the action because I know we're getting to the end. I know we don't have a lot of time with the character, so I want to get into it quickly.
It's funny because I feel like overall every show that's come out on Disney Plus for the MCU specifically does have a little bit of a pacing issue. Like they're either too long and they're just kind of they have like a filler episode when we're kind of like we don't really need that, or they're too short and they're still not moving fast enough. This is a case of where it's probably a little too short. It's only 6 episodes, and it doesn't feel like it's kind of running on all cylinders. Although the pacing for this show, I think, is probably better overall than some of the other ones. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier is a good example where it was only 6 episodes, and it just felt like there was 2 episodes in the middle where it was like you could have combined those 2 and just kept moving forward. But I think I'm loving it.
The pacing issue also comes to the weekly format.
Yeah, well.
All out, because if you were able to binge this whole season in one shot, right, the pacing for it would be much quicker.
I agree. You kind of fly through it.
Yeah. Basically, what they've done with all these MCU shows is created 6-hour movies,
right,
and broken them up into segments, basically.
I did like. I mean, for me, a highlight of the whole series so far was the visual of Khonshu reversing the stars at the end of the episode. Like that looked sick. But one thing I mentioned this to my coworker today actually was at what point do they start acknowledging all these major events? So if you think about it, after Avengers Endgame, right? Or let me preface it this way: during the Infinity Saga, there was always a lot of comments about like the New York incident or the Sokovia or some of the things that happened. Since Endgame, we've had now a Celestial, stick its eyeball and a giant hand out of the ocean, which had to have affected just the ocean, the water levels, some of the landscape and all that kind of stuff. We've had, in Spider-Man No Way Home, the entire sky was fractured with dimensions ripping apart at the seams, which people had, in New York, people had to see it. We've had now in this, in the Moon Knight, the stars being reversed, and they clearly showed people seeing this, but no other property ever seems to comment on these things that are happening. No one ever mentions like, oh yeah, like that, those crazy purple lights in the sky or anything like that. I don't know if it's a timeline issue or what, but I feel like so many big things have happened,
Timeline issue, because we don't know exactly where a lot of these shows are falling in the overall timeline, right? So I think the Spider-Man No Way Home thing, I think that's going to get addressed really quickly.
And Doctor Strange, yeah. So that might be, maybe I got to give that a little more time.
Yeah, the Eternals thing, like I'm not exactly sure where Eternals lands this timeline. No.
Yeah, I mean I guess they mentioned it's present day, but we don't know what that means. Is that
we know it's post blip.
Right. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, true.
It's post blip, but we're not sure. Like, I mean, I understand besides Hawkeye, because we know it happens at Christmas time, which is the same time
Spider-Man happened.
Hawkeye actually it's the same time Spider-Man ends, so Hawkeye actually takes place after Spider-Man's world, sky opens up and everything like that. It is weird that they don't mention it at all.
But, just a comment, even with the Daredevil, I'm just rewatching Daredevil now, even during those shows, and those were basically removed from the MCU, you still got mentions of the New York incident or the big green guy. Like, you had just these little comments to remind us that they're all happening. Yeah.
Yep.
So I do feel like we're kind of getting to a point where the new shows and new movies need to kind of acknowledge some of the major things that have happened. I mean, there's no way the whole world doesn't know about 3 or 4 major things, So, but I do, I've said this before. The MCU has basically earned the respect to be like, they'll address it at some point because they basically always do. So,
well, here's a potential problem though. They've already established that the timelines are all splintered, so we don't know if we're watching the actual main timeline.
Like, that is actually a very good point.
They could be converging together, and then you have all these new characters coming, but it might not be connecting in like in Moon Knight, for example, because it might not be a part of that original timeline.
No, that's a very good timeline. I mean, at the end of Loki, right, the timeline, the sacred timeline, was just branching out into infinite directions.
We don't even know when that happened in the other time.
Right.
So it's a little confusing. We're in the dark on a lot of this stuff, and obviously they're waiting for the movies to answer a lot of questions, right?
So that was the other point I wanted to make. You mentioned how everything is like leading up to a movie or something in the future. That's fine and dandy. I do feel though that at some point the MCU, the Disney Plus properties or shows, they can't always just be an intro to something coming later. Like we need the stories to kind of begin and end, and maybe be built strictly for Disney Plus. Maybe we don't need all the characters to go from the show into its own movie. I mean, right now that's basically what we're getting. Besides Moon Knight, we don't know what's happening with him after the show.
Again, like I don't necessarily think that they're all leading into their own movies.
Well, maybe not their own movie, but like, so WandaVision is leading directly into Doctor Strange.
I think it's giving us connective tissue.
What's her name? Hawkeye or Kate Bishop, whatever, is going to be. I forget where she was going to appear again next, but they said she was appearing somewhere else. Miss Marvel is going to appear in the Captain Marvel sequel. Excuse me. Like, everything seems to be, a Falcon and Winter Soldier that's leading directly to Captain America 4 with Sam as Captain America. So, and then Loki, they haven't said where he's going to appear again, but they did say he's getting a second season, or Loki's getting another season. So, I mean, that's probably the only show right now that seems like it's focused strictly on Disney Plus. But
he could appear in
Ant-Man 3.
Ant-Man.
I think he kind of has to, right? Because I mean, he introduced Kang, so why wouldn't he appear in Ant-Man 3? You know,
I mean, we were talking about in chat earlier about like oh, this show's doing bad because they didn't order a second season, or that show's doing bad because they didn't
Yeah,
order a second
I don't
I
agree
didn't
with
fully
that.
agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all.
that's the captain being a
At
hater.
I mean, it's basically John being John.
Yeah, yeah. He's
He's
the bad guy, right?
the
Yeah.
bad guy.
He's the
But
Razor
the thing
Ramon.
about it is that, like, I do agree that, yeah, they're not getting second seasons. It doesn't mean that we're not getting a second season.
Yeah, 100%. That's. I feel like
we talked about. Oh, if
oh shit.
not getting a second season of WandaVision, we
Right.
may get another show called The
Scarlet Witch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, which will basically be WandaVision season 2.
Well, they already announced it, so we're not getting a second season of WandaVision, but they announced that Agatha is getting her own show.
Exactly.
That will be the
Exactly.
continuation of whatever happened in WandaVision, or that could be. You know what I mean?
So
So
I think that we're getting second seasons of everything. I think it's going to be a Moon Knight will lead into a season of Werewolf by Night.
right.
And then like Captain America, Winter Soldier. I think they've already kind of established that they're going into the movie.
Yeah, the Captain America 4. They fully announced that Sam is going to be it, and that Bucky is going to be in the movie. So, it's literally a sequel to Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Show.
Yeah.
So
But
I
I agree with what you're saying. Like, let's kind of stop having the shows be like an alley-oop to the movies. Let's
Right.
have them build their own
Right.
their own story with also connecting to what's happening.
Like, it's fine to do that, you know what I mean? But one of the things that makes the Netflix shows so great is that they were their own contained stories, and we just now can use them in some movies, like we can use Daredevil in Spider-Man No Way Home or whatever. That's just we never said we wanted a Daredevil movie or Daredevil to be a main player in a movie. We wanted him to just cameo in the movies. Same thing with Iron Fist and Luke Cage and all that stuff.
To this day, my favorite Marvel experience is watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. lead up until the Winter Soldier, and then seeing all the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. deal with the aftermath of the Hydra reveal,
Right.
and all the agents, turning, and you have to see, we're seeing the background of what's happening that we wouldn't see in the movie. Like, that
Right.
stuff is cool to me.
That
like,
was an amazing
I want to see
time,
more
yep.
of that. Like, have these shows, build to the movie, promote your movie, and then let's see the aftermath in these shows again. Like, what's happening afterwards?
I think we're gonna get that. Like,
I hope so, because so
That I
far
would
we
love.
haven't.
you have to remember something too. Like, all of these shows primarily come out haven't had, because of COVID, the schedule of the movies got all screwed up, right?
Right.
All the movies got pushed far back from what they were originally supposed to be, and the shows were already production, or because they're smaller, they're easier to turn out and stuff like that. So I think once the movies start coming out on a regular basis, like we have coming up, I think they're gonna then go back with the shows and show us the aftermath and show us what's going on in that little contained world.
Right.
Because Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness happened. Now we get with what Agatha's going through. You know what I'm saying? And what Wanda's going through against Agatha.
And I think that's why they haven't officially announced sequels, because it's like they're waiting for these movies to pay off these things the shows are introducing, and then all of a sudden
it's like
we'll get a bunch of announcements.
Yeah, and it's like what I think we've all been saying. Doctor Strange is going to lay the groundwork for the rest of his phase. So I think once Strange is out, and we get past the month or two run of it being in the theater, all these announcements are going to start popping up.
I think so. I think so.
When is
get Gore the God Butcher in the season in episode 6 of Moon Knight though?
Dude, that'd be sick. Can you imagine?
That'd be crazy.
Well,
when is the Disney when's their like D23 event that they normally
I'm pretty
do
sure
every
that's
year?
in June.
It's
like usually shortly after E3. So E3 is going to be in May. So I'm pretty sure it's June. But
that's when we're going to get the
I can
Marvel
Google it, though.
done.
Hold on.
I think it's after San Diego Comic-Con.
When is Disney?
That's when we're going to get the crazy Marvel dump of information, most likely.
2020
Well,
D3 23 Expo is it's actually September this year. Yeah. So
It's
we
August,
got a
September,
while.
because it happens after San Diego Comic-Con. There's always a big thing on whether or not Marvel is going to show up to San Diego.
Right.
Stuff.
Right.
They haven't been for a couple years because they've been doing their own thing.
There's no reason to, because they have D23. Because D23 used to be every other year.
Yeah.
Then, so what they would do is Marvel would go to San Diego, and then the next year they'd go to D23.
Yep.
Now that Disney's been doing D23 every year, there's no reason for them to spend the money to send everybody to San Diego.
Because they have so much to show. That Star Wars is way larger than what it used to be now with all these shows and everything coming out.
I'm interested in is if Marvel starts pumping out stuff at New York Comic Con.
I would love it because when they started doing the Netflix shows, those were all announced at New York. Yep.
Year I've seen Daredevil season 3. I watched the whole first episode in the Madison Square Garden Theater.
Me too. And
that's cool.
I saw Punisher at
canceled.
Huh?
I'm sure they had canceled the panel for it.
No, I saw John Bernthal was on stage in the main hall talking Punisher.
Yeah, but they canceled the panel the next year for it because of the Vegas shooting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was there when he had the panel in the main hall, and I saw, I think, season 1 of Daredevil in the main hall, and it's just, I hope they keep doing that with New York, but D23 is a problem because they don't have to send their people out anywhere. They have everything in house.
But anyway,
but it's a time issue too because New York happens in October.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, speaking of Gore the God Butcher, let's talk about Thor. Segue. Weird segue, but segue.
All right.
So, Scythe. Zuplex and I watched the trailer last night. I know you watched it earlier in the day. So I figured before we get into kind of the theories and all that stuff, let us know what you thought of the trailer.
I love the trailer. I will say, not having the extra 30 seconds was truly felt.
It makes a big difference. Yep.
It was such a big difference, man. The trailer ended and I was like, oh, like I was so like, I just give me 30 seconds more and I would have been perfectly fine. But overall I loved it. We'll get into it more, but they showed just enough.
Yeah,
they showed
100%.
Just enough.
We all loved it. It's safe to say the world loved it. I think it hit 209 million views or something like that. I saw overnight or whatever. I mean, that's I don't think that's record breaking, but that's still obviously people are excited about this. I just think the whole feel of the trailer, the music choice, it's got the Taika Waititi kind of just vibe to it.
Before you dive in,
good.
This trailer has been trending for 2 months straight of people thinking the trailer is coming out. Yeah. And it never came out until yesterday.
Such a good gift for yesterday. It was such a, not that it was a bad day for me or like that, but it was like a boring day. And then the trailer came out and the rest of the day I'm dodging social media because I didn't want to ruin it for myself until I saw the trailer. If you haven't watched the trailer, anybody who's watching or who watches later on YouTube, definitely check it out. I'll add the link to the description of the video. It's just a phenomenal trailer. Everything is good. The music choice is excellent. It's colorful. It's bright. It seems like such a good step to direction to take the character. So the whole storyline, it seems like, is Thor, after basically saving the world finally and redeeming himself in his own eyes, he's kind of like, what do I do now? And decides, let me kind of go on a sabbatical real quick. Yeah, go ahead.
You said in his own eyes. Can we just talk about his eyys for a second?
Yeah, there was that one shot that lingered right here.
Yeah, they focused on his eyes quite a bit in this trailer, and they were like, "Yeah, no, he has 2 blue eyes."
Yeah, I guess he found a way to fix whatever the issue was.
Odin, son.
I think
we're getting King Thor.
Yeah, I think so too. I think 100% by the end of the movie, it'll be full-blown King Thor. The Mighty Thor and King Thor teaming up to fight Gore the God Butcher. That's basically what we're going to get. With Korg in the background, probably Meek also, and Valkyrie.
The Thor Core.
Yeah.
Thor Core.
Can we talk about real quick for Mighty Thor? For those who don't know, Jane Foster in this movie is wielding Mjolnir. Mimir.
Jacked
as can
completely
be.
Jacked.
How
Just straight powerhouse.
this
I was
this
like,
is
whoa.
the one of the double standards that people don't ever talk about. Like Kumail Nanjiani went from being out of shape to ripped. Chris Pratt went from being pudgy to ripped. We had spreads in magazines about their workout routine, them flexing and working out, their diet, the whole nine. Natalie Portman is jacked. I mean, I did not believe it was her when in the scene. I was like, that's got to be a stunt double or something. But that's really her, and we got nothing. No talk about her workout
Portman
routine.
in real life.
What'd you say?
This big.
Yeah.
I met Natalie Portman in real life. She's legitimately this big. She's like 4'11". A tiny person.
They did a good job, man. She did a good job. Whatever work she put in to get jacked, man. It's just such a great scene at the end. Zuplex called it with the Mjolnir being rebuilt, essentially.
Yep.
So it's got all the cracks. I think they're clearly going with the whole cancer route and all that stuff. So, for those who don't know, in the comic books, Jane Foster's got cancer. She ends up essentially wielding the power of Thor, and when she does so, she's perfectly healthy and tip-top shape as the mighty Thor is what she calls herself. But all the progress she's made with chemo before she wields the hammer or the power of Thor goes away when she wields that power. So when she reverts back to Jane Foster, the cancer is just progressively getting worse and worse. So it's like kind of a double-edged sword. I could save people, but I'm slowly killing myself. And it's kind of like a cross she has to bear a little bit in the comics. I think they're going that route for the movie. I mean,
I think so also. I mean, there's like the problem is there was so much in this trailer while also giving us nothing.
Yeah, It really was. It really was.
Like, we saw images of Olympus.
We saw sort of an image of Zeus.
Yeah, sort of an image of Zeus. We saw King Valkyrie.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Being political, I guess, or hearing like the complaints, or
tuxedo, being manservant.
We saw Tooth Gnasher.
Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder.
Tooth Grinder, that's the other one. I couldn't think of the other one.
The goats pulling the sled.
Question for you: do you think we get to see them in action battling alongside Thor in this movie?
Because he's leading them with Stormbreaker at one point.
In the ship, though, right? In the boat.
That's the boat that they're.
Yeah, but I feel like they're just taking him for a ride. I feel like he's there. I don't know if we're gonna see them in action fighting. I hope we do.
Like, why would we not?
I know, right? Again, it's Taika Waititi who has such a love for the character.
You think Taika Waititi is giving us Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder, and we don't see them fight somebody?
He just knows what to do, man. Can we talk briefly also about how far we've come in just comic book movies? We went from the X-Men got their own movie that everyone loved. But we couldn't see yellow spandex or blue and yellow Cyclops or like that, so they gave him just black leather. To now, Thor: Love and Thunder comes out, and we see Thor in a bright red cape with bright blue armor, full blonde, whatever. We see Korg, who's just that rock gray, but like a vibrant kind of gray. And we're just loving it. I just love everything about it, like the costuming and the look and the accuracy. Even Jane, I mean, she's awesome. Comic book accurate. She's got the friggin' winged helmet on, which is like something we haven't seen yet. It's just
so good.
We've come so far.
Zuplex, I shouted you out in my reaction when I saw the Thor hammer all broken, but like pieced together. I'm like, he called it, man. Yep. I was like, this is it. Yeah. It looked like a puzzle piece just put back together.
The trailer really did look good. And if you a quick Google search online, you already see people starting to rip apart scenes where they clearly like omitted different characters. So, at some point I feel like I need to do a deep dive of just everything that I feel like is missing from the trailer, from the teaser. But
couple things.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We didn't see Gore, right?
Right.
Which I really wanted to see. I thought they were going to give us.
We'll see him in the next trailer.
Be like the official trailer.
Yeah.
The scene where him and Thor and Korg are standing on like that ice.
Yeah, that's a great shot.
A giant dead.
Mm-hmm.
So that's from. It seems like almost directly ripped from the comics.
I mean, talk about making me want a God of War movie. That scene is ripped from the comics of Thor and just looks like a scene out of God of War. This giant behemoth of a that's a god, I think, right? That Gore kills there. Yeah.
I can't remember the name.
I can't remember the name either.
Thor kills it. Or kills him. And I think heading towards whole Gore is gonna. There is a possibility here where yet Gore and Gore ends up being a big bad for a little while across the MCU.
I hope. I feel like
That'd be cool.
I feel like there's a lot of potential. To your point before about Moon Knight, there's a lot of potential to not necessarily have Thor fail in this movie, whatever his mission is, but to not kill off Gore and use him in between the MCU shows and maybe future movies, and have him be kind of a thorn in the side of multiple heroes, not just Thor.
There's another connection here that might lead us to something else that we've been hoping for some sort of connection to soon. And it would make a lot of sense if, because, all right, so I hate to go back to Moon Knight. In that last episode of Moon Knight, they were talking about the Inet, the group of Egyptian gods.
Mm-hmm.
And the first episode, Stephen Grant talks about that there's like 9 of them.
Right.
Only saw 7.
Right. Well, Amit is one of them, right? So we know Amit is being held captive. So there is one missing.
The one missing very well possibly could be Apocalypse.
Oh, you think? That's interesting.
Son of Ra.
That's interesting.
I mean, there's a big possibility it could be Apocalypse.
How sick would that be, man? Talk about fan service.
And how, with going with these gods, the gods idea and the Celestials, the Egyptian gods that we're getting, and now we're getting Gore, who's obviously my thing on this is Gore's going to be, he's going to leave the Asgardians of the Galaxy, leave the Ravagers, on to try and find himself, becomes a space pirate apparently at some point, because that chick with the blue hair, I have no idea who that was.
Yeah.
I've been racking my brain trying to figure that one out for a day and a half now.
Yeah.
And then just way to Olympus. Olympus gets attacked by Gore.
No way Zeus survives this movie. That's my
no, I don't think so either.
My guess. So we get Russell Crowe. He's probably going to steal the show with some crazy zany performance. Then Gore shows up and murders his ass.
Yeah. It's also an interesting thing that we're getting Matt Damon back.
Yeah, him and
doing a play.
The other Hemsworth, they're doing the play, Hemsworth. The character again.
And Melissa McCarthy is going to be playing Hela.
Right, I read that. But so that means that they go to Asgard at some point. Well, they can't go to Asgard. I guess in New Asgard. Yeah.
New Asgard. Yeah.
I was definitely. I mean, the trailer had me smiling ear to ear. It feels appropriately epic, but also, you're not going to outdo Endgame and all that kind of stuff. So it just seems like it's going to be the perfect payoff to seeing him with the Guardians.
They might outdo Ragnarok.
They could. Ragnarok is, as much as I love Ragnarok, it's one of my favorite Marvel movies. I feel like the stakes overall didn't feel as high. Obviously major things happened, but we all knew that Thor was going to be in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame and all that stuff. So it's the timing just kind of almost knocked it down a little bit. You know what I mean? As far as the stakes are concerned. The quality of the movie is still one of the best MCU movies overall.
100%.
Is this the first Thor movie without Loki, or will he appear somewhere?
I hope he appears, but I want to say I read somewhere that he's not actually in this movie at all. But then again, though, that could be, they could literally tell him, go stand next to a blank wall in your house and act like Loki and improv for 45 minutes and then just take that and somehow insert it into this movie and we won't even know. So, I mean, you really, you can't tell. How do you not have Loki at least make a cameo, you know what I mean? But he is doing, he's right now dealing with the Time Variance Authority and all that kind of shit.
He's stuck in the TVA now, as far as we know.
You kind of have a good excuse to not have him in the movie, but it will be weird to see a Thor movie without Loki for sure.
My thing too is Marvel is so good at throwing us off the scent.
Yes.
And it's so hard to predict where they're going to go next because we think we have it all figured out and then they just throw a complete hook at us.
Yeah. And that
half that trailer could be completely fake and bogus.
I was just going to say the same thing. I mean, they could have filmed from what I understand, a lot of the film that they end up cutting from the movie they use for the trailers. So this way, like, you're not seeing anything from the movie. And they've flat out filmed scenes and whole trailers that were designed to seem like one thing, just to say you didn't really guess what was happening. So I mean,
exactly.
And this is just a teaser. Again, this is just a teaser.
Yep.
And think of it this way: I'm 100% convinced that the Guardians of the Galaxy are only going to be in the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Like 20 minutes.
Like
they drop Thor off at his retirement home, and then they leave.
There'll be like a fight scene with all of them, including Thor, the Asgardians of the Galaxy. That'll end. They'll do like the intro or the title or whatever. Then it'll cut back. They'll talk for another 5-10 minutes, some jokes here and there, and then that's it. They'll never see them again. That's what I think is going to happen. But in the trailer, they were in a good portion of this trailer. It almost seemed like they were main characters of the movie. You know what I mean? So
right.
So we're gonna say sorry.
No Gamora was seen.
Well, that makes sense though, right? Because Guardians 3, they're going to be spending time looking for Gamora. So, I guess that makes sense. It did seem like they all got an upgrade though. I don't know if you pause in the one scene where they're all standing in the ship, you see Drax has some sort of metal bands on his arm. Mantis looks like she has a weapon on her hip and some sort of machinery or something in between her antennas.
But there's no Rocket either.
No, Rocket's there. He's hard to see. He's there, but literally right behind Mantis, you can see him. He's behind Mantis, and you see he's got a kind of a cool little outfit on with a little pop collar or something like that. He is there though. See that. And then Groot is just, Groot's got a little older.
A couple times I watched it. Yeah. I wasn't really looking for him, but
yeah. No, I actually paused it on. I paused it on that scene, like not even looking for Rocket, but then at some point I was like, "Wait, where's Rocket? He is there. You'll see it. Go back to that scene and pause it. You'll see it for sure."
Does Chris Pratt look skinnier in this movie?
He does look skinnier. His facial hair looks different. Like I wonder if they're gonna play, make this joke about him copying Thor. So it's like he's trying to grow the beard or something similar to Thor. Maybe, I don't know.
But on the flip side, Thor's trying to copy Star Lord.
Can we talk about the scene that steals the entire trailer?
Rocker look,
right? Like he looks phenomenal. First of all, in the Ravager outfit, but the scene where Chris Pratt's like, talking about, look in the eyes of the people you love, and he's trying to look into the Guardians, and Thor's just like,
I love that.
Like I love you, bro. Me. Like it's just so funny.
You just see him like slowly.
It's so good.
It's so funny.
I'm very excited about this show.
He's completely sporting.
I tell you right now,
70s rock. And by the way,
100%. Yeah.
The music of the trailer, perfect.
I mean, I keep saying with Steve and the different reactions that Marvel just knows how to do just soundtracks. They know how to pick the right songs. They always kind of hit the nail on the head, and this trailer just kind of continues that trend. There's no complaining
whether
about
they're picking the right songs or coming up with Avengers theme song,
right?
Amazing.
It's all appropriately epic. It's all I do think.
And if they don't do that, then they just pick the perfect song for the scene, like the immigrant song in Ragnarok.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Guns N' Roses they picked here has the same feel as the immigrant song in Ragnarok. Like I guarantee you that in the movie at some point, Thor is gonna jump down and whatever, and this will be the song that kicks in, and it'll just be as epic as we ever all thought it was gonna be. All right, boys, that's everything. We went through it all. So Dark Roots Creation says anything Thor Dark Lord makes me happy. Oh, Star Lord. That's what I said. No, it makes her happy. Anything with Thor and Star Lord makes her laugh. I said happy. I think
they're funny. They're funny together.
I do think we're gonna get more of the Chris Pratt trying to copy Thor a little bit, and the kind of the argument over who's in charge, But it almost seems like Thor is basically like, no, you're in charge. I got you. I'm just gonna sit here and be the muscle essentially. You know what I mean? Right. I love the little detail that when he's working out, when Fat Thor is working out with those giant chains, that he's wearing a hat that says "Strongest Avenger." Like he can't let that go. Even at years after Tony Stark has passed away, he's like, no, I'm still the strongest fucking Avenger. I'm not letting it go.
Mm-hmm.
It just cracks.
That hat's amazing. Strongest Avenger on the hat, on the sucker hat.
Yeah.
Doing chain whips and everything.
Chains attached to King Kong's skull or whatever.
Where could he have possibly gotten that hat though? did Star-Lord stop at a convenience store somewhere?
Borg made it for him.
I'm calling it right now. I want a scene. I want a scene where he goes to Doctor Strange and says, "I need a trucker's hat that says Strongest Avenger." Doctor Strange is like, "All right," and just like conjures it up for him. Yeah. So here you go. And he's just like, "Thank you," and he just flies away. So, all right, boys. that was we got through everything. We actually got through everything pretty efficiently.
I have
Go ahead,
one
what's up?
question. We've been talking a lot about, connectivity. With the end of Doctor Strange, are we going to start seeing the movies more connecting together? Do you think, like,
I don't think
the
so.
end of Strange, the end of Thor, like, are they going to start leading to like a showdown of some sort? You know what I mean? Kind of like how every ending was something leading towards Thanos.
I say no. And I can basically tell you why I think that. I feel like Kevin Feige said that they're going to stay away from an Avengers style movie for a while, that there's no plans for an Avengers movie at the moment, that it's not off the table, but it's just not going to be a focus. And I think we're going to spend the next 2 to 3 phases telling smaller stories, like, for example, introducing Kang, but having him kind of be dealt with 2
Right, but
years
are we
later.
going to build to Kang? Like, is each movie going to kind of snippet of our?
I don't think so. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like,
Yeah.
like we said before, a show kind of connects to a specific movie, and that's kind of the only connection there. You know what I mean?
I think Doctor Strange is gonna give us the framework for what
I agree.
the timelines and the universe are.
See,
So, like,
I don't agree,
by the
because
end of
Ant-Man
Doctor
is gonna finish the timeline stuff.
I think Ant-Man's gonna deal with Kang,
Right.
but I think Doctor Strange is gonna establish, like, this timeline that we're in, or we've been watching this whole time, is the main timeline. Is the nexus of everything else, is whatever the TVA called it, the
Nexus of all realities.
the timeline,
the Nexus event.
Oh, the sacred timeline.
Timeline. Yeah. That this is the sacred timeline, and this is what it is, right? I think we're gonna then Ant-Man's gonna deal with Kang trying to destroy the timeline all over again. I think there's a lot that they could do with that. I think Doctor Strange is gonna solidify, like, okay, this is where we are. This is where everything's happening. Base everything off of this. That's your framework for how all these other stories are acting, and this and the other thing. I think then Thor is going to lead us directly into Guardians and cosmic side of the MCU, and we have after that Wakanda.
Yeah. After that is well, I mean,
No.
Wakanda Forever technically, but I feel like that's gonna get delayed.
I mean, it might be.
Yeah.
It might get delayed, but for whatever movies we get going forward,
We have
then
the
I think
Marvels coming too. Like that's coming up.
Yeah.
So that that might connect somehow.
Basically,
What's
like
that? What's after Thor? Guardians?
After Thor is the Guardians Christmas special. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up right now. Just make sure I'm giving you the right info.
I think whatever movies we get after this point, I think are going to start expanding their side of the MCU.
That's what I'm thinking, which is why I posed the question.
We get.
I feel like
Let's see, Doctor Strange.
like
we get
we've
Thor.
been saying Strange kind of.
So Spider-Man
everything.
Across the Spider-Verse is later this year. Wakanda Forever right now is at the very kind of end of the year. That could be kind of pushed back. Kraven the Hunter, but I don't think that's going to connect too much.
Wakanda slated for when?
For 2022. For I believe that's December, yeah. And then the Marvels is the first movie in 2023 we're supposed to get. That's full-blown MCU. Then Guardians of the Galaxy.
So, I'm sorry. Is the Christmas special this year?
Yeah, the
also?
Christmas special is this year. That's like
we're getting the Christmas
October.
special in Wakanda.
Yeah, like
so Christmas is in October.
It's early, yeah. Like so Miss Marvel is June. The next show we get is the Christmas special. So it's usually like, a show and then a movie, then a show, then a movie. So
going Moon Knight into Obi-Wan into Marvel.
Right.
To the Christmas special, basically.
But yeah.
Oh, the special's a show? I thought it was another movie.
No, it's a show on Disney Plus.
Oh, okay.
They're gonna do.
Oh wait, you know what? I lied. I'm sorry. It's not the Christmas special. It's Groot. Baby Groot gets his show on Disney Plus. It's an animated show. The Christmas special is probably closer to December.
Oh, and they're gonna do a Halloween show next year.
Yeah,
too, right? With
yeah.
Werewolf by Night. So I think we've been talking about this for a while, where it's like we're all kind of on the same consensus that the MCU is about to split into
Yeah.
bunch of different storylines. I think Doctor Strange kind of gives us that starting point.
She-Hulk also is in here
starts,
somewhere
like,
too.
reeling everything together.
She-Hulk's going to be coming. I mean, they have trailers for it already, and I've heard they're almost done filming it.
So according to this article, Wakanda Forever is supposed to be late November of this year. Then Miss Marvel is supposed to be early 2023, like February, March. The holiday special is this year, December, I saw. And then Ant-Man 3 is July of next year. Then Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
That makes sense.
No, other way around. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and then Ant-Man. They have the dates wrong on this thing. And then afterwards, Fantastic Four at some point, but we don't, there has been, no real, besides 2023, there's no real announcement for Fantastic Four yet.
We've talked about it, that everything's leading to something. Just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of connective tissue right now, and they're doing a much slower burn than we did with Phase 1, right? Phase 1 was very like Iron Man or Captain America, end credit scene, Nick Fury is there, Thunderbolt Ross is here, Incredible Hulk, like blah blah blah. Like getting the Avengers at some point.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Whereas this is more subtle. So it's like, all right, we have Moon Knight kind of showing you some God stuff. We have the Eternals off in space now, looking for ever, and Star Fox shows up.
I still think we don't see Gore the God Butcher until the end of Doctor Strange 2. I feel like for the time being, the end of the show, the end of the movies, the end credit scene is going to be a trailer. Whatever the new thing is, it'll be that trailer will be the thing.
I don't disagree that they're going to do that either. I think that this is just a slow story building way of giving us multiple storylines, and I think you have to start like compartmentalizing each property into where it's going to fall in the overall storyline of like cosmic side, the supernatural side, there's going to be stuff that kind of jumps between everything.
Yep.
If we get a Wakanda Atlantean war, Wakanda Forever, right? And that's going to change a lot of like what happens in the rest of the MCU.
Oh yeah.
If Gore the God Butcher is running across the MCU, killing off Egyptian gods, and Khonshu has to like get involved, and Moon Knight teams up with Thor somehow.
That'd be freaking badass, dude. I would love it.
Like we don't know where this is all going to lead to. We have Blade coming at some point. So many different.
Is Blade confirmed to be in the same the current time? I should say, like the current dates.
I don't know.
Or
no,
is Blade going to be more like in the past?
That they haven't said. They haven't said if like the movie is not even slated to come out until like the end of Phase 5. So we got a long time for that. That's 2025 probably.
Doesn't mean we don't see Blade before that though.
Well, we already heard his voice, so I agree. I think we'll get like an introduction to him somewhere.
I think we get an introduction
like as a cameo.
To him with Wolf by Night, Halloween, series, or limited series that's going to be.
But they haven't said if it's going to take place in the 90s, the 80s, or current time or whatever. Yeah. But
I mean, I'm assuming they'll do a lot of flashbacks to. I think actually what they're going to do with Blade is go back to the 70s and do a flashback to back then when the Blade comics first started coming out, and like
that'd be a good way to kind of separate it from what came out before, and kind of freshen it up for the MCU, and then they can always catch him up
and then bring him forward into the current time and be like, he's still around. This is Blade. This is what he does. Murders vampires and have at it, Hoss. But I think we just have to, like, honestly, we're in a lot of wait and see here, and I'm not too upset about it, man, because like,
no, neither am I. I love this.
I'm
loving all this.
Getting service to characters that we never thought that we'd see. Like, if you had told me 20 years ago Moon Knight was going to have its own show on TV, I'd be like, you're out of your fucking mind.
You're out of your mind. Yep. 100%.
Like, no one knows what Moon Knight is. Like, or that Guardians of the Galaxy was going to be like everybody's favorite MCU movie.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Or that
what?
we were going to see the As Guardians of the Galaxy on screen somewhere.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
like any of these things. So I think it's good that we're getting different storylines and this more fleshed out type of slower. They're using unestablished characters. So you kind of have to build stuff up a little bit slower.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not like where you got Captain America. It's like, all right, that's Captain America. He does Captain America shit.
Yeah.
Like, let's watch him do Captain America shit. All right, now we're gonna team him up with Iron Man. Like, it's not like Hulk, where it's like, Hulk smash, blah blah blah. All right, now team him up with the Avengers. You have to like explain who Moon Knight is. You have to give him some backstory. You have to like bring him up to pace with the rest of the heroes that everybody already knows about. I think that's where we're headed right now.
Yep, I agree. All right, boys, we hit an hour and a half. That's my cutoff. I don't know.
Right,
I don't know why it's.
good.
I don't know why it's my cutoff, but it's my cutoff. That's just what I like.
It's a good cutoff. Though.
Thank you guys. Take an hour and a half. Thanks for those in the chat jumping in, and you can see all the stuff, all our social media scrolling along the bottom here. But if you haven't already, like and subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. I feel like I'm missing one. I think I got them all. Who knows? Keep an eye out.
Can I just say,
What's up?
For all my Mayan fans out there, the season just started right now, so enjoy it.
Also,
I'll be
Better
catching
Call
up with
Saul
it tomorrow.
That started
Better Call Saul, yeah.
yesterday. Actually, it's the
Which is
final
gonna have
season.
big Breaking Bad connections.
Yeah, well, they and just as a quick announcement, they announced that Jesse Pinkman and Walter White will be appearing this season, I should say, on Better Call Saul. So check that out if you like Breaking Bad. Better Call Saul is a great show. Yeah, and also, so keep an eye out for the recap if you weren't able to watch the podcast live. It'll be up Thursday morning. Shortly after it goes up on YouTube, we'll get it up on all the podcasting channels as well, so Spotify and iTunes and all that kind of stuff. And then keep an eye out. We got just a couple videos. I did a tier list yesterday with some of the GGEN members. I know Scythe has been killing it with some of those don't laugh challenges that he just fails over and over again. And if you want to know if I'm telling the truth, then you better watch those videos on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe. And thanks, guys. We'll be back here next Tuesday talking about Halo Episode 5, reluctantly talking about Halo Episode 5, and Moon Knight Episode 4. Again, big promises for Moon Knight Episode 4. Apparently, some major stuff's going to go down, changing the kind of feeling of the show going forward. So we're going to have a lot to talk about, I'm sure. And then in the meantime...
Episode 5 of Halo, more Quan.
More Quan and more man-ass. And then, and I'm sure there'll be some big announcements between now and then, too. Thor...
Spoiler alert, he won't put the helmet back on.
He won't put
either.
Oh, come on, you spoiled it. Thor, Love and Thunder is in full-blown marketing. I'm sure there'll be some other information released. And then we're only a few weeks out from Doctor Strange 2, so, we'll have to probably be some new teasers and TV spots for that as well. And, we'll see you guys next Tuesday at 8:30. Theater Room Podcast, episode 39. And Scythe, correct me if I'm wrong, Multiversal Podcast should be this weekend coming up, right?
This weekend.
So keep an eye out for that as well, guys. Later, guys. GG, and we'll see you next week.
Later.